Hi everyone, welcome to today's sessions and join the Chinese Film Club. My name is Royal Yao, your programmer. In today's session, we are going to interview three short film filmmakers. And yeah, so let's get started. So first of all, would you mind to introduce each of you? Let's begin with Colleen, maybe?
Sure. My name is Colleen Kwok, and I am a filmmaker, mostly director and cinematographer from Hong Kong. And I was living in New York for 10 plus years, and until COVID, I retransited back to Hong Kong and currently preparing for my first feature called The Stars, the Sun, the Moon, and I'm screening the short with Jane today.
Thank you. And how about you, Lucy?
I feel a little nervous because it's been a long time that I haven't been in a conversation in English. So my name is Lucy Huang, and I'm a documentary filmmaker. And I did my postgraduate in New York in social documentary. And I made Satellite Baby as my thesis project. And now I'm working on my first feature-length documentary, The Wild Street.
Cool.
And that's it.
Thank you, Lucy. And now, last but not least, Luis. Lacey?
Hi, my name. Yes, Lacey. My Chinese name, Lacey. My name is Luis. I'm from Spain. I studied at NYU. That was last century, 99. I was working in film for a while in Los Angeles. Then I quit film for a few years. Then I went to live in Asia. It's been my 13 years in Asia, 4 years in Japan, and 9, almost 10 in China. Actually, the film is gonna be play. It's my return to filmmaking. I didn't make a film for 15 years, and after that, which is a short film, I just completed my first feature documentary, and I'm working on my second and my third feature documentary at the same time.
Nice, nice. Thank you for each of you. And maybe let's begin with Colleen, because in today's session, your project will be the feature short, and then the rest two will be the short documentary. So for Collins, actually this time we show your project, The Star, Moon, and Sun. So you mentioned earlier that you are also working on one of the feature-length project, which is based on the short. So I was wondering, where does the short story begins? Why would you think of making this kind of a short and focus on the kids and then have the different journey within that? Would you please introduce a bit?
Yeah, of course. The Stars, the Sun, the Moon is a very outdated, old-fashioned title that I am still with it. It's okay, but it sounds super outdated. So basically, it's based on a childhood memory from me when I was 10. I was living in the school's basement with a retired teacher and another kid who are like 3 grades below me. So there's just like a lot of like really crazy, interesting episodes happening every day with like a bunch of estranged faculty member who also live there. It's basically like a dorm, but like an informal dorm. And what other like elementary school on earth have a basement? So just like think about it as an adult or just like a young adult at the time. I just feel like this whole experience was so crazy, and I always wonder how's the other kid doing. So I make the short in 2014. So with a grant from the Hong Kong government. And then I wrote a feature version of it because there's just so much happening. And I put it aside for like years because I was living in New York. I was trying to make my New York feature film. And so came back to Hong Kong after COVID, since at the beginning, at the peak of COVID. And I just feel like seeing how like the city is evolved through like just like crazy things happen for the past decade. And also my story is about time travel. So like the story itself also just evolves in some way. And my wonder about how the people in my story was doing was just erased, you know, the curiosity. So, and then I just, with all this like new emotion or affection act into it, I rewrite the feature drastically. And start like giving a read to people, and that's how the feature project started, basically.
I see. And while you're making the short films with the kids, did you meet some challenge, or it was quite smooth process?
It's actually, I feel like now I do it, I will find such a big challenge, but at the time I never really see that as the biggest challenge. At the time I was really the main challenge for me was trying to shoot it on 35mm with just like a bunch of short ends that all my NYU friends were like helping to ship it over, and then just like get a camera together. And that was the big challenge. But of course, on day one, the producer was telling me that you're shooting kids, you don't have that much take with the films left. You have to shoot, like, you have to get everything done within 3 takes or so. So there was definitely the challenge there, but I was never really like make it super stressful. And I guess that's also because I did spend a whole lot of time, like I will go eat ice creams with my main lead, and then we bounced so well. So on set, basically, there isn't too much like last minute hustle. So with that experience, I think that will really help me take in to make the feature version.
I see, cool, thank you. And talking about the children's, Lucy, for your Starlet Baby, your part of the subject is also focused on the kids. Actually, I just find one common thing: 3 of you all has a New York background, basically. So Lucy, could you please also introduce a little bit about your project, where it begins, and why do you want to focus on like the second or third immigrant life or family life within New York back then?
Okay, so basically the main reason why I made Starlet Baby is because I read a news on news NPR, and it says there are many babies living in New York City and basically in Flushing, and they were sent back and forth between China and the US, like when they were born in US, and then their parents send them back to China and raised by nannies or their grandparents. And then when they went 5 or 6 years old, when they are old enough to go to school, and they were sent back to Flushing. So that's one of the reasons. And the other reason is that when I was a little kid, I was separated from my father for a long time, because my father went Shenzhen and work for like 10 years, and I met with my father 3 or 4 times a year. So at that time, I feel apart with my father, and our emotion, it could be hard for us to get very close because of the separation. So I feel the same way with these Starlet babies. So I want to make a film, short documentary about Starlet babies. And then at first, it would be very hard to find a specific subject, because there is a saying in China, 家丑不可外扬. If there is not something they can brag about, and they don't want you to film their very intimate lives. So it took a very long time for me to find a subject. I print out a lot of posters, and I put the posters on walls of Flushing streets, on Chinatown, and then for like 3 or 4 times, my thesis project advisors just let me to forget about this topic, because she felt it would be hard for me to make it out before my graduation. So, but finally, it would be very lucky for me to find Julie, and then it took me like 2 or 3 months to build very close relationship with her, and then finally we can make this film together.
I see.
Yeah.
And through sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and after after the production of Starlet Baby, we also became very close friends. And now I still have a connection with Julie and and she's 3 kids. Yeah.
Oh, that's very sweet. That's very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also thinking through the filmmaking process, did delay also kind of lay back while you were filming? Because such an intimate film and the personal film is also private. So delay at some point feel the boundary has been broken and you were attacking with the camera. This kind of feeling. Have they ever feel like that? This kind of a challenge?
Yeah, I feel, I remember that there are several times I feel their behaviors would be changed because of my existence and my camera. So sometimes I just spend time playing with her kids, and I slept with her kids for like 2 or 3 nights, and after that we can get much more closer.
I see. Wow, that's quite challenging to experience. I mean, for the outsider to think about it. And Luis, how about for Jude? Could you please introduce a little bit about why Joy? And because you mentioned it was as if one of the first film that you kind of returned back to the film industry, and why do you choose in Guizhou and to shoot it? And what was the reason to begin?
Okay, I think this film chose me. I didn't choose it. I mean, I went to Guizhou because of my partner is working there with some minorities. She's helping them to promote their clothing. So I went with her. And then, as I said, I didn't make a film for 15 years till I found White Joy, which in Chinese is Bai Si, which is, it's a film about a funeral. And Bai Si means a funeral of a person who lived a full life, who just died when he's old and had a good life. So what happened is I was walking in the village and I saw the beginning of the film, which is I saw 5 women crying over a coffin, and just in a funeral. I had my iPhone with me, and lucky me, I was bringing a external battery, so I shoot the whole thing. I shoot it was actually the end of the funeral, which is they took out the coffin out, and the women and the families cry on top of the coffin, and then they took the coffin up the mountain where they buried the coffin, which is being selected, exactly place has been selected before. So I saw this, I followed the action, I was part of it. I guess because I was shooting with a phone, people don't really care much about it. And this took about 4 or 5 hours. And then I had to run back to Beijing the same day. I had a train to take. So literally I could film the whole thing, from the crying to the burial. Then I decided to, the footage was incredible when I went back to Beijing. So I edited, and I decided to go back to the village to get some big camera and try to get some footage of the village to try to make something. And then when I arrived, another person passed away. So I could see the whole, it's a 5 days funeral. So I could shoot the whole funeral and then put all the footage together, and just edit it. I was editing for a long time, and then that's the way White Joy happened.
And because for you, I also find out the cinematography style is quite unique compared with the traditional or different documentary. So what kind of the choice that you made to have such a close shot and slow mode at some point?
I think the choice is having a phone.
Oh.
It's also the closeness. I don't think they were aware I was shooting. I think I was just I don't know, they didn't really care about it. And I was kind of, I would say this is more like, it is, if you see the film, it's easy to put yourself in my shoes, because I was experiencing something that was incredible to me. So I was shooting it in a very raw way, without not too much thinking, actually. It was just what was happening in front of me.
And for the whole funeral journey, for you as the Westerner and processed through the whole experience, do you feel that impact you at some point or not? Especially compared with the Western style of the funeral, is there any differences or?
As I said, there was my first funeral, but it impressed me the most the way the whole village was part of it, and the whole process, how it lasts like 2-3 days, how it all worked as a clockwork, clock, how everything was, the first day, the body has to be out, the second night, people has to sleep out and then play, the third night, the family can see it. So it was all a process, which it was quite emotional for them and for me.
That's good to hear. And meanwhile, since I mentioned earlier, all of you all have the studied experience in New York, and now you all work from the different backgrounds and countries or regions. So I was wondered, compared with the study times in New York and your actual work right now, is there much differences, and how much you will put that into your current work? Maybe it's a bit tricky. Maybe begin with Colleen.
Yeah, I would like to hear what you guys think about that as well, because I guess we're working in different places. I do work in China from time to time, and there's definitely a lot of differences I'm experiencing, and I'm trying to combine it to adapt it. But yeah, it's been quite difficult. So for me, like New York is not really like, it doesn't represent the States or like LA or Hollywood. People think New York is very indie. We always feel like we can make it with low budget and we don't need that much hands. We can just do it on our own. I feel like that is kind of like how NYU or like New York Film School has trained us. And Hong Kong is like still pretty much taken from the golden time system, so although there is new wave coming up, but still like the majority are still doing what like the old times system are doing. And China is another thing. So yeah, I would like to discuss with you guys too.
Lucy, how about you?
Yeah, I went back. I am currently based in Beijing, but my hometown is Hubei, Wuhan. And then I found an intern in New York, and I became a media broadcaster in New York for 3 or 4 months. And finally, I find maybe that I couldn't fit in that position, because currently my English is very limited, and then there is another reason I find the topic that I want to talk about in documentary filmmaking is based with the land that I was grow up, and it is very close related to the culture. So that's why I decided went back in 2018, and now currently I'm working in a small documentary company in Beijing. And I feel the same way with what Colleen said. In New York, I almost make every film by myself, and then I feel it's very independent. And in school, I don't have to think about like what my what my boss will think about my work. And I think that's the only time that I can do whatever I want in my documentary filmmaking experience. And now I make different kinds of work like commercials and feature films and documentary documentary shorts and it's just I make different kinds of documentary products. So that's the difference between when I in New York and now.
And Luis, how about you?
Yeah, well, I think technology now. I mean, the thing is that I was making films so long ago in the States, and it was fiction. So it's a big difference between doing that with 35 millimeters and doing anything you want on digital. So I think I mean, I feel very free in China, and I think in terms of finding subjects, the option is quite much more wide, and it's hard for me to think of to find something new to shoot in the States. Let's put it that way. Where here in China, any place I go, I find things that have never been shot, and technology gives me the freedom to do it on my own. So I don't much agree with the other director said.
I see. Cool. And I have one last question. Since all of you have the upcoming projects going on, could you please also give us like a short introduction about your new project? Maybe this time begin with Luis.
Okay, the next project, you're part of it, so maybe you know better than me. Maybe you can introduce. No.
You go for
well, the film is a long film. It's our second long feature film. It's called King Bull. This is a film which is also done in Guizhou, which I found this subject when I was doing White Joy. They have a very special way of doing bullfighting in China, in Guizhou. And me being from Spain, it's kind of interesting to explore that. Actually, they do have bullfight the same way we do have bullfight in the Mediterranean area, like Spain, Greece, Italy, Tunisia, 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, there was no bullfighter. There were only two bulls and they fight each other. So they do it the same way in Guizhou. We used to do it more than 1,000 years ago in Spain. So that's the subject. And that's also what I said before, how easy it is to find subjects in China that they've never been shot before, because not even people in China knows about this.
Yeah, that's true. It's quite a extraordinary and authentic experience. And then how about you, Lucy? Could you also introduce a little bit about your new project?
So now I'm working on The Wild Street. It's a feature-length documentary about my hometown, Wuhan. And in 2020, when COVID-19 in Wuhan, and after that, I just thinking about maybe the COVID-19 can have some long time trauma in the city and in our hearts. So I went back home to find some subjects, and I was born in a street named Hanzhen Street because my mother when I was a little kid, my mom have her own clothing brand in Hanzhen Street, and then now sorry, I feel it's hard for me to express what I want to talk. So it probably took me a little time to find the document. Can you do it first?
Yeah, sure.
Colleen?
Yeah, Colleen,
of course. Yeah.
go for it.
So for the next coming months, because I'm normally still a cinematographer just for jobs, so I will be busy with like all the projects I'm committed to shoot, feature documentaries and like art stuff. And but the past 2 months I have been just preparing for The Stars, the Sun, the Moon. I was on rewriting and like contacting financier. So I'm aiming to shoot The Stars, the Sun, the Moon, the feature in summertime next year, like during the summer holiday time. And besides that, there's one project in New York that I left out that I still need to do. That is an ensemble feature with 7 Chinese or East Asian filmmakers whose life are like bound together to make a feature film together in New York. So the title of that is called We All Love Edward Yang. And I actually wrote it on the 10 years death anniversary of Edward Yang on 2017. So coming to the 15 years of death anniversary of Edward Yang, I started thinking that maybe I should make an excerpt of that film as a short, or like a mid-length short, like a 30-minute short. Yeah. So I'm planning to do that. I'm trying to fit that in my schedule earlier next year. I'm trying to make that like 30-minute short. Although like I feel like 30 minutes is such an awkward length. Like it's not really short, that no festival will ever be that length. And it could also be a challenge to see how you can tell a story and engage audience in that length.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. 30 minutes sometimes is a bit tricky. Either you make it a little bit longer, or okay, there are some festivals which still accept 30 minutes, but the choice will be much less compared with in 20. So that's also a thing mentioned to some of the filmmaker before. But regardless, yeah, hope the project will go through successfully. And Lucy?
Yeah. Oh, I feel so nervous today.
No, chill down. Take it easy.
Yeah. So due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and I feel the world is quickly shifting from traditional brick and mortar business to electronic commerce. So the street I grew up named the Hanzhen Street, and there is a wholesale market in the street where my mom had a business for several years. And then when I returned to the street in October 2020, I discovered that the local business has declined rapidly due to the rise of e-commerce. So I was wondering, because I was wondering after 5 to 10 days, what could happen to the street, to the clothing industry and the wholesale industry. So with this reason, I made the film The Wild Street, and I hope to show the lives of these characters and the choice of my subjects, and I want to follow their journey after what happened to them after 2020. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, I think our time is almost up. Yeah, thanks for sharing the old project experience and new project updates with us. And I hope in the future we could still invite your feature-length films and screen this at the festival as well. So thanks again, everyone, and wish you a lot of luck with the current projects. And we hope we can keep in touch soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.